Sound Advice with Doug Leonard. I am Tiffany Young here, and we are talking the hearing loss iceberg.
Yeah, interesting, huh? It comes from a Facebook post that we put on our Audiological Services of Iowa Facebook page. And, you think about iceberg, I mean, the danger is not what's above the water, it's what's below the water. And this is kind of an analogy with that to hearing loss. So it's just a picture of an iceberg. We talk about the things that we think about in general: tinnitus, difficulty hearing and noise, reduced clarity of speech. Those are the things that everybody thinks about in interpersonal communication when it comes to hearing loss. But what the dangers that lurk under the surface, that's what sunk the Titanic, was what was below the surface, not above it. It's the same thing with hearing. So there are several things. Number one, the added risk of falls from untreated hearing loss, which I think we've talked about on Sound Advice before, but you can't emphasize that enough. Everybody's worried about that. I'm 54. I don't bounce like I used to. When I fall, trip, I'm a bull in a china closet anyway. And if I fall, I'm at a lot higher risk of breaking something or doing some serious damage than I was when I was 25 years old. So people that walk around with hearing loss and it's untreated are putting themselves at greater risk of having falls.
So if we're not paying attention to what's underneath that and just the surface area, and I think a lot of times people just think surface area stuff, I can't hear. It goes into so many different parts of your life.
Well, and it might be something that, they don't think about the communication side of it, but they're concerned about maybe the other, another thing like memory issues that people can have because of untreated hearing loss. Maybe their inspiration to see an audiologist and having a hearing evaluation and maybe do something about it comes from that motivation. We're not trying to scare people into coming in. We want people to be motivated to come in, trying to be proactive about their health care. But there's a lot of things. Another thing is social isolation and depression kind of go hand in hand, and anxiety. If you see somebody or if you're someone who has hearing loss, those difficult environments that you go to, maybe you go out to have a drink after work on a Friday night, maybe you get together with friends and play cards and there's a big group of you, maybe you like to go out, whatever, socialize. When you're in a noisy environment like that and have hearing loss, it's very anxiety inducing. You just can't hear what people are saying. I find myself suffering from the same problem. I just don't process sound as well as I used to, and it can be difficult. I want to get away from that noise and not engage. And the problem with that is then we start to isolate ourselves and become less social, can lead to depression and again, anxiety.
Yes, and I see some too that like maybe they just get angry, they get frustrated about it, and so that doesn't necessarily help if you're in a relationship because you can't hear them.
It is, and people do become frustrated. Some folks are motivated by a problem and they seek to find the answer to it. Other people just kind of go, almost turn inside and just get hostile. They give off a vibe that we all have been around folks like that where you don't enjoy being around them because they're just negative. But maybe they have a hearing loss, or maybe there are other things going on in their lives that we aren't aware of, obviously. So just want to encourage folks anytime to think about the other underlying things that can happen with hearing loss and encourage them to come in and see us.
You can contact Doug Leonard with ASI. And Doug, a couple different ways they can do that. You've got a Facebook page, of course, but also they can give you a call.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from them, 792-5933.
You've been listening to Sound Advice with Doug Leonard from Audiological Services of Iowa.